So, Dr. Crickmore, can you summarize in a few words your winning essay?
Sure. So my boss and I, Richard Mann at Columbia University, we tried to ask how sizes are specified in nature, specifically by focusing on how sizes become different in nature. For example, why is your pinky finger almost identical in form to your ring finger, but different in size? And what we wind up finding is that growth-controlling genes called morphogens, which are produced and secreted from small subsets of cells in these tissues, less of them are secreted from smaller tissues, and that their mobility through tissues is restricted, so their growth-promoting ability becomes restricted in smaller tissues, and that's how nature sculpts all of its shapes and sizes.
And what got you interested in this particular topic?
It was a little bit serendipity and a little bit based on my past history. Before I went to graduate school, I was a technician in a lab at Rutgers University, and I met what was to be my future wife there, and she was asking questions about how morphogens regulate size. And actually, when I went to Columbia, it wasn't really to focus on that problem, but I sort of stumbled into, with the ideas of my wife, Dragan Aroglia, about size swirling around in my head. I made some observations that I thought were really interesting about size between two structures in the fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster, and convinced my boss to head from the direction I was going into a size direction, and to use the fly as a model organism to study size.
And how do you think winning the GE Science Prize will help your research?
Well, directly, I'm afraid to say I don't think it will help at all, because science doesn't care who you are and it doesn't look at your CV. But indirectly, it will give me a lot of confidence, especially as I look down the list of previous winners and see that they've gone on to lead, for the most part, really great careers as postdoctoral scientists, as independent scientists, and continue to make discoveries to this day. And I really hope to carry on that tradition associated with this prize.
And talking of careers in science, how did you get into science as a career choice?
I think, like many of us, I stumbled into it. I wasn't the best student in college, and afterwards was looking really for any job associated with a paycheck. I wound up taking a technician job at Rutgers University in New Jersey in the States, and that job required me to, for example, make stock solutions and shelve glassware. But while I was there, surrounded by real scientists asking important questions and figuring out ways to make discoveries, I really became inspired and decided to become a scientist myself.
And what advice would you give to budding scientists out there who are interested in scientific research?
I would give the same cliched evidence, but I would say it very strongly that there really are mysteries out there, and if you take a step back from the actual research that you're doing and think about these mysteries and ways that they can be addressed, the tools that we have, especially for biological science now, are so advanced that we can really address some of the fundamental mysteries of nature, and that, for me, is the most fun.
And thinking 5 or 10 years ahead, where do you see yourself in your research?
Yeah, so I think that the most interesting mysteries lie in the brain, understanding what it is that makes us feel alive, what it makes us feel, all the sensations that we feel. And the more I work with this model insect organism, Drosophila melanogaster, the more I start to think that we can really address some of these fundamental questions about the brain in this simple organism. For example, we know that a fly will eat when it needs nutrients and not when it doesn't. In us, that's associated with the sensation of hunger. We know flies can see, they can taste, they can smell. Can they feel hunger? Do they experience perception in the same way that we do? I think that's the question I want to address. Of course, it'll take a lot more than 5 or 10 years, but for the foreseeable future, these are the kind of questions I want to be asking.
Great, well thanks very much for being with us and congratulations.
Thanks a lot.